everyone! Welcome to our launch stream today. Are you guys excited? 2.0 guys is finally happened, but welcome on in guys. My name is Jasmine. I'm the Senior Community Specialist over at Elgato, and then we have Phil with us.
Hello, how's it going? I'm here for 2.1, by the way.
Yeah.
Do you want
boy.
to introduce yourself to the community who don't know who you are?
Yes. Hey everyone, I'm Phil. I'm on the tech marketing team for Elgato, and I'm very excited to talk to you guys about 4K-X and 4K Pro, HDMI 2.1, and everything around these new capture cards. I'm sure you've watched a review or two or looked at some of our stuff, and we could probably all agree there's a lot to discuss. So let's do it.
Cool. For people that don't know me, hi, I'm Steggy from Elgato. That's about it. PM, yeah, I work on products. Not really so much the capture cards. It's not my speciality, but yeah, I work on the product team, or I work with a lot of very smart colleagues who created these beautiful pieces of tech.
Awesome.
So I'll just be the model.
Yeah. Jeff is here. Phil is here. How excited are you guys in chat? Let's get some hype in chat up. I want to see all the hype there. And maybe we can get a pull up. Which capture card are you guys most excited for? 4K-X or 4K Pro? And with that being said, so let's go ahead and talk about why we made 4K-X and 4K Pro. Phil, I'll pass it to you.
Should I take it, or Jeff, do you want to? I don't know who wants to.
I think that like I've always ceded to you that you are Mr. Capture Card in my heart and in my eyes. So I'll let you take it away. And if there's anything I want to chime in and add, I will.
Well, if for those of you who have capture cards, you might have already been wanting something like this for a while. But capture cards are one of the only ways to get video from a console into your PC. So if you're looking to record high quality footage, either at 1080p 60, 4K 60, in HDR with unlimited recording time, or added into OBS Studio, Streamlabs Desktop, Meld Studio, right? All these different applications, add overlays on there, add your own audio, all of that. You somehow have to get the video and the audio from your console into your computer. And that's what the capture card does, right? That's at its most basic level. That's what a capture card does. It's audio and video from your console into your PC. You can go pretty advanced with it, right? You could even have another PC be that input for a 2 PC setup, which some creators do. But yeah, that's really the base functionality of a capture card. Now within that, there's a lot of smaller details. For example, when we talk about HDMI, well, there's different generations of HDMI. Our previous capture devices used HDMI 2.0, and those could pass through and in some cases capture up to 4K 60. When the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X launched, they brought with them HDMI 2.1, and HDMI 2.1 has been around for a number of years now. Again, the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S use it, as well as the latest PC GPUs from AMD, Intel, and NVIDIA. So what did HDMI 2.1 bring to the table? It brought just massively increased bandwidth that let you then play at resolutions like 4K at 120 FPS. Or if you're more on the PC side of things, you can do things like 1440p 240, even 4K 240, stuff like that. Of course, then the demand came up for new capture cards because we need to, adapt to those. It took us a little bit to get here, but here we are. And that is what we're going to talk about today with 4K-X and 4K Pro. So these are our new HDMI 2.1 capture cards, both of them supporting HDMI 2.1. There are some some are more obvious differences between the two devices, and then there are some more subtle differences between the two. So I don't know if we want to jump into those right away, or what was the result of the poll, actually?
That's actually a good question. I think we should have the results up soon. Or it might still be going. If you have any mods in the chat too, let us know. I see Brito's typing right now. All right, so it looks like 4K Pro won. So 4K Pro won by 2 points versus 4K-X. So I guess go ahead and jump and talk about 4K. Oh wait, never mind. It's still going. It's still going. We still got some time left on it, but since 4K Pro seems to be in the lead right now, I think we can go ahead and talk about 4K Pro.
All right, we're not going to stop the count. So yeah, we can talk about 4K Pro first, sure. Yeah, 4K Pro, or let me break it down actually, and I can jump right into my desktop here. Let me just make sure that it's all nice and up. You guys should be seeing our beautiful new homepage, which our web team did a beautiful job here. But so we have two new devices, right? We have 4KX and 4K Pro. 4K Pro is our new internal PCIe capture device, and 4KX is external and USB. Now, 4K Pro brings with it some pretty cool new advancements. Next to HDMI 2.1, of course, with VRR and HDR, 4K Pro is for the first time capable of passing through 8K 60 footage, which that is pretty huge. Consoles don't output 8K, so that's not, it's not really a thing yet there. Even though, and anyone here notice this when they unbox their PlayStation 5, it actually has a nice big 8K logo on there. But yeah, so 4K Pro can pass through 8K 60 footage in HDR and capture that in 4K 60 HDR. On the other side, it can also pass through 4K at 240 hertz with HDR and then capture that at 1080p 240 hertz HDR, which is really nice if you have a dual PC setup. If you're paying attention to CES, which just wrapped up a couple weeks ago, there were a lot of announcements from all the big monitor manufacturers out there, and basically all of them have monitors now that are going to be OLED and QD OLED, and they're all 4K and 240 hertz. So that's kind of the next big thing on the PC side. So 4K Pro is going to be a really nice option there for if you are using a dual PC setup, or if you want to just ensure that your setup is, kind of future-proof into that 4K 240, 8K 60 era. Anything to add to that, Jeff, or should I just dive through the go right into the product page here, and we can take a look at some of the features?
Yeah.
I should probably remember when I'm muted and unmuted. But yeah, I mean, 8K 60 is definitely like the main headline of 4K Pro. But not to forget that, like, someone is saying like the high refresh rates are also what it's about. And I mean, also 4K 240 FPS is pretty nuts. And so just having all of those options available. And I'm personally a big fan of PCIe cards just because, like, I always load my USB ports up really quickly. So I probably should just get like a USB hub PCIe thing for my computer. But yeah, so I've always liked the PCIe cards. And so to be able to have that added capabilities, plus maybe I can convince my boss to get me an 8K TV, for testing, for QA, or 4K 240, whatever. But what's really just exciting is to see this not just this kind of jump, but what I think has been special about Elgato is, and again, I'm not trying to toot like my own horn because I have nothing to do with our capture cards. Let me be absolutely clear. But the amount of leaps in technology we make for the cost or the price that we're able to do it, and sometimes it's been through like really scrappy means. Because like when we first released the first 4K 60 Pro, it was $400, which is of course sounds like a lot of money, but the next cheapest 4K 60 capture card was $1,000. And I remembered that when it came to like how it was made to be affordable, they had taken 4 HD60 Pros that are all 1080p 60 and cobbled them together to make one unit. Like on the inside, obviously they didn't use like duct tape or anything, but just to be able to make those leaps and bounds and get it down to the cost that it does. And that's why it'll take us time to come out with these. So we see all the comments when people are like HDMI 2.1 when, right? And I can't say like a definite timeline, but we could have come out with these kinds of cards, sooner than we did now if, they cost twice as much. But that's always the challenge of the game. You spend a lot of time developing ways to get as much technology as you can, but while keeping the price reasonable, I would say. So yeah, that's what I'm excited for. Is just like the accessibility of this technology more than just the technology alone, basically.
So speaking of technology and accessibility, or having access to it, let's take another look at the actual technology inside 4K Pro and kind of what you get with 4K Pro. Um, so going back here, we have some pretty exciting new things. Let me line this up here. So first of all, again, up to 4K 60 capture. Up to 4K 60 capture in this case means there is other capture resolutions and capture frame rates as well, right? It's not just 4K 60. There's also 1440p 144. There's 1440p 120. There's 4K 30. There's 1080p 240, right? There's a bunch of stuff. So that's why it says up to 4K 60. So you get that. Of course, you get HDMI 2.1, which is perfect for the next gen consoles or if you have a dual PC setup. 8K 60 pass-through, again, mostly relevant for you PC folks out there. But sorry, there's just an explosion outside what sounded like an explosion outside my window. That's concerning. Okay, sounded like a firecracker or something. Yeah, so you get 8K 60 pass-through or 4K 240 pass-through, and all of that with HDR and VRR support. So why is that important? Well, pretty much every new TV and monitor these days supports HDR. Every console supports HDR, PCs, and if you have experienced really good HDR on a really nice monitor, it's truly something to behold. And so, of course, we want you to be able to play in that and at the same time capture that. 4K Pro also has onboard tone mapping, meaning if you're streaming to a platform, say like Twitch, that doesn't support HDR just yet, you can take that HDR signal and the card will actually convert it for you into SDR or standard dynamic range, and then you can stream that out. So you basically don't have to worry about it. HDR can be somewhat annoying to deal with just because things are still in that ecosystem ramping up, like how to edit it, how to stream it, all of that. So in the meantime, we just make it easy. If you do just want to stream out just regular standard definition, but play in HDR, you can totally do that. Then there's variable refresh rate. Again, great piece of technology where you eliminate screen tearing and kind of stuttering, right? If a game has a lower frame rate, or even if it runs over a little bit, anything around just your game feeling not smooth. 4K Pro has full support for VRR, and in fact, we've been working with NVIDIA on G-Sync compatible certification. So unfortunately, we weren't able to get that done just in time for the launch, but we are expecting it to happen very shortly here. So that'll be really exciting. And then lastly, there's multi-app support. What does that mean? Well, what you can do with 4K Pro is you can open it in OBS Studio, and you can open it in our 4K Caps utility app. You could stream and record at the same time. So that gives you the ability to say, stream out at 1080p 60 or 720p or some sort of lower resolution or frame rate. And then you can also capture that at the same time at something like 4K 60. Oh, you know what? I think it's thunder. That's why. That's weird. I'm in the Bay Area. We almost never get thunder here. But yeah, okay. So that's multi-app support, right? So you can capture and stream at the same time in different applications if you want to, and multiple. It doesn't just have to be 2 or 3. It could be more. Just be aware that that's pretty resource intense on your computer. Let's keep going here. Let's talk about sources, right? What can go into 4K Pro? Well, it's primarily your consoles, but of course, it kind of works with anything that supports unencrypted HDMI. So it could be a PC, could be a handheld like a Steam Deck or an ROG Ally. It could be a phone, right? It could be
I've got my camera plugged into one right now because my camera can do 4K, actually 4K 60. So like I could even get 4K 60 webcam using 4K Pro or 4K 60 Pro. Like that's the 4K 60 is been available on the previous generation, but yeah, cameras too.
Yep. So it's really geared towards consoles, but again, it works with pretty much anything that has, and the keyword here is unencrypted HDMI. And by unencrypted, that means it's not HDCP encrypted. Imagine your set-top box or Blu-ray player or your console when you start up something like the Blu-ray app or Netflix or Hulu, right? That then will trigger what's called HDCP encryption, and then we just can't record that because you're not supposed to be able to, just you're not just allowed to download the video. You wouldn't just download more RAM or something like that. You wouldn't just capture.
You wouldn't download a car.
Yeah,
I
you
would,
wouldn't. Exactly. So that kind of stuff gets blocked. we talked a little bit about PC already, but again, just wanted to mention that with support for 4K 240, this is, again, a really great option if you have a 2 PC setup. Totally not expecting everyone here to have one of those. It's really, I mean, if you're just streaming a console, you don't need a 2 PC setup. If you've invested in a high-end setup, or you're really taking your content creation to the next level, then a dual PC setup might be something you consider. The main benefits of it are that, well, your gaming PC can do exactly just that, game, and your streaming PC will just stream. You can run more effects, you can do more overlays, you can do more fancy stuff. And also, you can push your gaming PC further. So if you're overclocking, you're putting the latest things on there, you're playing games with mods and all of that, and something crashes, well, your stream keeps going. So in a way, it's kind of like stream insurance, if you will, right? Your streaming PC, don't ever update it, don't really touch it. All it does is stream, and it's supposed to be super stable. And then your gaming PC, you can really dial that up to 11. And that's what a dual PC setup is great for. There's a couple other things here. Again, on our site, we just talk about the capture resolutions and frame rates, compatibility with different apps. Being a direct show device, it is going to be, and a PCI card. 4K Pro is compatible with Windows PCs. And then within that, though, pretty much any app that you could imagine you can use. So again, OBS, Twitch Studio, even something like Zoom if you wanted to share, or and I don't know if you guys know this, but Discord recently added capture card streaming. So if you're playing with your friends, the same way that you can share your PC gameplay, if you have your capture card set up, you can actually just share that as well now. So that's pretty cool. Moving on, 4K Pro comes with our 4K Capture Utility software, which makes it really easy to record. So you pretty much just open the software, and I can show you guys in a little bit as well what that looks like. But you can record for as long as you have hard drive space. You can record really high quality, up to 4K 60 HDR. That includes live commentary and also flashback, right? So that's this feature where a little bit like a DVR, if you've been playing a game, something cool happens, and you think, oh, no, I forgot to hit record button. Well, 4K Capture Utility has your back. It's always recording. So you can just slide back in time, hit the record button, and you've got that saved.
Might be my favorite all-time feature of any Elgato product, actually, because I just remember just all the heaps of just, crappy games where, I went -20, and I have to go back and delete them, because of all the space that they would take and how much easier it was when flashback came around. It's really just such an understated feature to have.
Yeah, it's really nice. And then once you have made all those recordings, or in Jeff's case, if you did just record a bunch of clips, you can also manage those within your library in 4K Capture Utility. So we have a really powerful tagging system, organization system, even using metadata like, was it a 4K 60 recording, or was it an HDR recording, or was it on a certain day or a certain time? There's a bunch of different tools that you can use there to organize your recordings and keep it all in sync. Now, we've been talking a lot about resolutions and frame rates here, and as we started working on 4K Pro and 4KX, this applies to both cards. HDMI 2.1 offers just a staggering amount of resolution and frame rate options, and there's two parts to always consider. There's kind of what goes in, what's on the pass-through, right? The thing that goes from your console or your PC or whatever is going into the capture card out to the TV. That's your pass-through, and then you also have your capture side. Now, those aren't always the same, right? In the case of 4K Pro, if you have a 4K 60 input, you can capture that at 4K 60. If you have a 4K 240 input, you can capture that at 4K 240. Getting a grip with all of that can be a little bit complicated, and we've tried to make that really easy. So if you're on the 4K Pro page or you're on the 4KX page, we have this capture quality guide. And what this does is it asks you a couple questions. So for example, what is your source or your input? So here we'll just select PlayStation 5. What's the resolution that you play at, right? In other words, yeah, like 4K, 1440p, or 1080p. So I play at 4K, and my monitor supports 120 hertz. So I also play at 4K at 120 hertz. And I play in, we'll just do HDR. Great, okay. So now that I've gone through this, it'll tell you exactly what you can capture based on the information that you put in here. So with a 4K 120 HDR input, I can capture that in 1080p 120 SDR or HDR. Now I can also go back here, and if I can select PC, maybe I want to do 8K, HDR, boom, it'll tell you right there, 4K 60 HDR SDR. And so we think this is a really nice addition to the pages to help ensure that if you're looking at one of these products and you're not really sure, there's a lot of specs and details, and I just want, something simple that tells me exactly what I can capture, we have this on both of the product pages. So this is really nice. And then let's see, as we keep going here, talks a little bit about the stream. And then towards the bottom of the page, there's also a comparison between all of our existing products, I should say our current products. So we have 4K Pro, HD60X, which is sticking around, and then we also have 4KX. And here you can just take a quick look at what the differences are between all these devices. Now, this doesn't go into all the details. You'll see, some resolutions aren't mentioned here and all of that. If we did that, this table or this comparison would get really, really long. So we are looking at other ways of presenting this in a better way. It's going to take us a little bit of time. But for now, you have kind of a at-a-glance view of what the differences are between the various products here.
We also actually
Now,
do have a comparison chart that we can show on stream later on, one between
yes.
4KX and 4K Pro, and another between 4KX and HD60X for you guys.
Now, I see there's also a ton of questions, and I know you folks have a ton of questions. That's what we want to do. We want to answer them here. We'll get to the questions. Let me run through this spiel real quick, and then we'll do that. Hopefully, you're learning a thing or two. Now, let's say you've gotten to the bottom of the 4KX or Pro page, and you're still not quite sure which product is for you, right? Okay, I have a PS5, I have a 4K 60 TV. Do I need 4KX for that? Do I need 4K Pro? Maybe does 4KX work with my laptop? I'm not really sure. So we've revamped and overhauled our, we call this our capture card selector. And basically, this is just another tool to help you figure out which product is the right one for you. And that's also our goal. Like we don't want to force or tell you, hey, you should get this thing when really you need something else. So let's go through this together. So what is your source or input? In this case, let's select console. And again, we'll do just PlayStation 5. And then it'll ask you what type of computer you use. So you have a choice between a Windows laptop, Windows desktop, a Mac, or an iPad. Some of these options narrow it down quite quickly, right? If you're on a Windows laptop, well, you can't use PCI products. So you're pretty much then at that point going to get 4KX or HD60X. If you're on a desktop, you have a couple more options. On Mac, it's the same thing, right? You're going to get 4KX or HD60X. And on iPad as well, right? Those are USB. But anyways, let's go with Windows laptop here. So there we go. You can see there, we recommend 4KX. And then you get a helpful little blurb here that tells you about how 4KX is designed to unlock the full potential of your PlayStation 5 and gives you a little bit more info about how you can capture it. If you are looking at an alternative option, there is still a price difference between the 4KX and the HD60X. We also give you that alternative there. And then additionally, we also recommend ChatLink because PlayStation 5 still to this day, I don't know, I hope Sony changes it one day, can output audio to one output, meaning either the HDMI output or the controller output. And if you're using a capture card, you need to go over HDMI. Problem is, if you plug your headset into the controller, right, then you get audio out of the controller. So ChatLink is a cable that will actually split your audio from your controller to your capture card and also to your headset. And so this is recommended here. Again, this should make it really nice and simple to find the perfect product for your setup. We can also go through something like, dual PC, right? And if you're capturing on a Windows desktop, here we've got 4K Pro. Or let's say I am on my Nintendo Switch and I like to travel a lot, and I, take Switch with me, go to a friend's house, we play some Mario Kart, Smash, Splatoon, whatever it is. I also want to record that on the go, so I'm going to use my iPad to capture. We actually recommend to you HD60X. You don't need, Switch doesn't have HDMI 2.1, it doesn't do 4K 120 and all of that, so you don't really need all the capability of the 4KX. So we recommend to you HD60X. Now, of course, we also want to show you all the additional options there. In this case, that'll be 4KX. If you are thinking about maybe picking up another console at a later date or maybe a PC or something like that. So Yeah, that is a quick tour of 4K Pro and some of the tools that we have available now, alongside a fantastic PMP video. This is basically a product overview video that Steggy has put together that is live now, I believe, or it should be live, right? Maybe, yes.
Yep, right before we went live. Hopefully I didn't miss any other mistakes.
Um,
There's always like one
yeah.
thing, right when you go through the final thing after the 4K's been processed, and it's like, oh, yeah. So
All right.
hopefully
And
we're
then with
good.
Oh
that
yeah,
being
so that's
said,
live.
let's go ahead and answer a few questions about 4K Pro from chat. And after that, we'll go ahead and talk about 4KX, and we'll answer some questions about 4KX, and then we'll go through some more comparisons. Next question is going to be from Video Gamer. What's the best video card for the 4K Pro?
The best video card. It's probably going to be the one that you actually have in your computer. What I imagine,
Oh,
what you probably are referring to is like for video encoding. And yeah, at that point, it's just whichever one you have. There are, differences in the GPU that you have and what it can encode video-wise, but that's a little
I mean,
bit, I think, out of the,
I
there's
think
a
what he's
lot of
asking.
details to go into.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just the general is like, if I were to buy a graphics card, which one would be good for capture cards or streaming? Um, while I like both companies, I personally prefer NVIDIA cards in my setups just because I do appreciate the NVENC encoding. And obviously AMD's had their own and Intel has their own. But in addition to having those encoding chips that can handle like a bunch of streams without adding a lot of load to my CPU, I really appreciate NVIDIA Broadcast, which I'm using like right now for this microphone. It just adds some like noise reduction and stuff. So NVIDIA has a few creator forward features, which I really appreciate. Just but yeah, going into like specific models, that's really just like, oh, how much money do you have, basically,
Yep.
Next question is going to be from Sergeant Tanuki-man. Does 4K Pro have the same compatibility as the 4K 60 Pro? Like, would I need to upgrade my motherboard, or could I just swap them out?
You could actually just swap them out. So they use the same, so the 4K 60 Pro and 4K Pro use the same PCIe 2.0 by 4 interface or X4. So most motherboards will have at least one of these ports. Those are the shorter PCIe slots. Of course, the 4K Pro will also work in a larger PCIe slot, right? Like an X16 slot, which are the full length ones. The thing you want to be aware of or make sure is that the slot you plug it in actually runs at the speed that you need, because certain motherboards will have a full length PCI slot. It'll say like X16 on there, but when your computer's on, it's actually only running at like a 1x speed. So,
Wow.
in that case, it wouldn't really work there. So just double check in your motherboard's manual that,
Yeah,
the slot you want to install it in works.
there's all sorts of weird idiosyncrasies. I haven't come across that big of a jump, but like I think my motherboard right now, because it has Thunderbolt ports, if you use the Thunderbolt port, it automatically turns the second X16 slot into an X8 slot. Or actually, I think if you use that, then even the main one, I forget, but like, yeah, really weird stuff with motherboards sometimes.
Yep.
But yeah, X4 is fairly not, fairly good at, like, it's kind of low, what do you call it? Low maintenance, I guess. It's not as good as like the X1, which as long as it plugs in, it's working. But
Yeah, it's still common enough. Generally motherboards will have at least one of those slots.
yeah, finding a
Yep.
motherboard that can do two, that's the one, that's where I was looking for two PCIe X4s and the Thunderbolt. That one was difficult to find.
All
I
right,
digress.
next question is going to be from Damien's Gaming. Will 4K Pro support ultra wide resolution, and or when?
That is a great question. So, we are still in the process of testing ultra wide resolutions. There is just such a massive combination of different frame rates, resolutions, and speaking of ultra wide specifically, you have everything from like 2560 by 1080 to, 3440 by 1440 to 5120 by, what is it, 1080 or 1440 even. There's just so many different, and then it's not just that resolution, but we also want to test the frame rates, right? So not just 60, but 100 FPS, 120, 144, 240. So you can see how that list suddenly grows. So we're still in the testing phase, which is why on all of our documentation, you don't see ultra wide yet. As soon as we know more and we basically have confirmed information, we'll put it out there and we'll let you guys know. We're very confident in our ultra wide support. I think if you watched the review videos from Vox, he did some testing and he got 3440 by 1440 at 100 FPS working quite well, or at 100 hertz. So again, we're confident, but I just I don't want you to be I don't want you to go out and buy one right now, and then if something doesn't work, have to return it or whatever. So I would say if you are in the ultra wide camp, right, you've got a monitor that's ultra wide, just hold off for just a little bit.
Awesome. And then next question is coming from the Apple. Do the PCIe cards present to the computer as a USB 3 controller?
As a USB 3 controller, no. And actually, I'm getting a comment about my camera. I will be
Yeah,
right
you're
back.
choppy a little bit.
Sounds good. All right.
Yeah, Phil might be the bigger expert. So I could be wrong in this, but I mean the cards that we have that are PCIe are direct show cards, so it shows up as that basically. I know that there are some, I'm curious because I know that there are some capture cards that basically do like USB adapters to PCIe, and so I wonder how those appear to a computer. But for ours, it's like proper PCIe and direct show.
Am I back? Is it
Yeah,
all
you're
smooth
back.
now?
You
All
are.
good?
All
You look
smooth.
smooth to me.
Looks smooth to
Great.
me.
Good.
Let's go. He's
All
back.
right.
Yeah. So I was just saying where I could be wrong, but it's like 4K Pro's a direct show card
Yes.
and is
Yep.
PCIe. I was saying that I was curious that because I know that some capture cards can do like internal conversions, like USB to PCIe, and so I wonder if those might show up as USB devices, but I don't know.
No. Yeah.
All right, sweet. With that being said, let's go ahead and talk about 4KX. Phil, you want to go ahead and share your screen?
Let's do it. Oh boy, I'm doing a lot of talking today.
And then afterwards, for everyone in chat, if you guys aren't already, we are doing a giveaway in both Twitch and YouTube. So for Twitch, if you guys want to enter the giveaway, just type next gen in chat, and you just have to type it once and you're entered. The winner will win either a 4KX or a 4K Pro. It will be the winner's choice of what they would prefer and what they want to win. And then for YouTube, you do need to be in YouTube. It follows the same rule as Twitch, where if you call your name on YouTube, you will have to be present. Otherwise, if there's no response from you within a minute, we will have to re-roll for a new winner. And YouTube's a little bit different. There's a Google form in order for you to fill out. Make sure to read the rules as well and the terms. But yeah, good luck to everyone who is entering. And go ahead and keep bringing on those questions that you guys have about 4KX, 4K Pro. We are currently queuing all those questions up for you guys, and we'll be answering all the questions, as many as we can, after we explain what 4KX is. So, Phil, go ahead and take it away.
All right, let's do it. So back on the homepage here, we've got 4KX and 4K Pro. We just spent some time talking about 4K Pro. Now let's take a look at 4KX here. So 4KX is going to be the USB capture card. And this device uses, for the first time, USB 3.2, and I hope I don't mess this up, USB 3.2 Gen 2 10 gigabit per second. Why they can't just call it like USB 3.2 and just leave it at that, I don't know. But yeah, this uses 10 gigabit per second. It also supports HDMI 2.1. And this is our most powerful USB capture card that we've ever made. It can record with a 4K 144 hertz input. It can record the full 4K at 144 hertz, which is really, really cool. So let's take a little bit of a closer look here. Gonna go down the page. We've got some beautiful gameplay here, which, by the way, if you want to check out some gameplay, I should have mentioned that for the 4K Pro as well. We have some on our workshop YouTube channel, and I'll touch on that in a little bit. But anyways, so 4KX captures and passes through video up to 4K at 144 hertz. This does not support 8K 60 or 4K 240 like the 4K Pro, right? So there's a difference there. It uses HDMI 2.1, and it is plug and play. So, You don't need to install any drivers. You don't need to necessarily install specific software to use it. You literally just plug it into your computer, load up the app that you want to use it in. So it could be our own 4K capture utility software, it could be OBS, it could be Meld Studio, Streamlabs Desktop, whatever it might be, and it'll just work. It supports HDR capture and pass-through, same as 4K Pro, and it also has onboard tone mapping. So if you are, again, I'll kind of repeat some of the information, but if you are streaming in HDR, or sorry, if you're playing in HDR but want to stream to a place that doesn't support it yet, or if you just want to make editing easier on yourself and capture in standard definition, then 4KX can tone map it to you SDR for you. It supports variable refresh rate, and that enables you to play in, well, basically a mode where there's no more screen tearing or really stutter. Like you won't notice the stutter or lag when games have minor frame rate drops, or if there's any sort of screen tearing because VSync isn't on, right? That all goes away with variable refresh rate. So that's really nice. Those also don't show up in the capture, which is also very cool. Like I mentioned with 4K Pro, we are working with NVIDIA on G-Sync compatible certification. So if you're using 4KX with a PC, then it'll show up as G-Sync compatible. It's not quite done yet. It's still being verified by NVIDIA, but again, we're very confident that it'll happen very soon. And then that will make 4KX, 4K Pro, and HD60X the only G-Sync certified capture cards on the market. Lastly, it's extremely compatible with a ton of software out there. Thanks to that UVC plug-and-play support, you can use it in pretty much anywhere. And it's also super powerful in the sense that it can downscale video to practically anything that you need. So for example, if you needed to get 720p 60 video, then you can, pull that in even though you could be playing at something like 4K at 120 hertz. Moving on here. 4KX being a USB card is really nice if you have a more portable solution, or if you're just kind of looking at getting, I wouldn't say dipping your toes into capture, but let's say you've got a console, you've already made some videos, and you want to start doing gameplay, then 4KX is going to be a great choice there. In terms of the sources that it supports, very much like the 4K Pro, it's pretty much any HDMI, like unencrypted HDMI source. Of course, the premier ones being PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, a Nintendo Switch. Also things like an iPhone or a Steam Deck, ROG Ally, an iPad, right? Anything that you can play on that you can get video out of. One of the things that we did here is, the concept of a capture card, as we're talking about it here, it might seem simple, but it's not simple for everyone to understand. And so we've got this great little diagram that shows you exactly how it works. On the left here, you have your input, right? This is the thing that you actually want to record and that you're playing on. Then on the right side here, you have the display. This is the pass-through TV or monitor that you're going to be using. And at the bottom here, you have the output, and this is what you're actually going to be connecting the 4KX to, and this is what's going to be recording or doing the streaming. So this could be a PC, it could be a laptop, desktop, and it could also be an iPad. We have this really nice little "Is my device compatible?" Info here. So, you can use this to just quickly check if a device is on here. Again, everything that you would expect is going to be on here. I will say that this doesn't include literally every source under the sun. So, we've gotten specific questions around, does this certain tablet work? And usually the answer is going to be yes. But of course, if we wanted to list everything, it's just not possible. So I think we're going to add like a little text here that says like, and many more, right? But this should give you a pretty good overview of what works. And yeah, you'll be confident when you pick up your 4KX. It works in all of the applications that you would kind of expect it to. So, again, OBS Studio, XSplit, Twitch Studio, and what's really cool is it works in our own Elgato Capture app. Now, our Elgato Capture app is something that we launched on, let's see, where do I have it here? We launched it on iPad a little while back, and it essentially allows you to capture 4KX and also our previous HD60X right onto your iPad. So if you want to record on the go, again, if you have something like a Switch, or you just go over to a friend's house and you're, doing some split screen and you just want to record those sessions, then you can just connect it right up to your iPad, get the Elgato Capture app for free, and start recording right away. So this is really nice. There's also some other apps that are coming online that allow you to stream as well. So we think that iPad is going to become a really, really nice way to capture and stream your gameplay. Let's see. Then we have our comparison table here, where again, you can take a look at the differences between the 4KX, HD60X, and 4K Pro. And then we also have and I skipped it a little bit, same as 4K Pro, we have our capture quality guide. 4KX can capture even more different frame rates and resolutions than 4K Pro can. And so this is going to be really handy, right? If you go through this, you take a look at, okay, I want to capture PlayStation 5. I have a 1440p monitor that's 120 hertz in HDR, and boom, here you go. It'll tell you exactly what you can capture from that with that input. Or let's say that you're playing on a, I don't know, like a PlayStation 4, right? Well, a PlayStation 4 outputs 1080p at maximum. So that's a pretty quick and simple answer there. Or let's take another look at like a Series X, and I've got a 4K monitor that supports 120 hertz, and it's only SDR. Then you can capture 4K 120 SDR. So again, this goes in that direction of we're trying to make it as easy as possible to understand what 4KX will let you capture when you get the device, or well, before you get the device, so you can ensure that it's what you're actually looking for. Um, let's see.
Yeah, I
Then at
mean,
the
we just want to
bottom,
try to be transparent about everything, Like, it's why we do these live streams. It's why we answer like comments on YouTube or tweets, whatever. Um, we know this is a technical product, and so we won't, we try to make it as easy as possible, because like even with a little bit of help, it's still going to be pretty technical. So without it, it would be rough.
yeah. And speaking of technical, what I think would be interesting now is if we take a look. So we've gotten a lot of questions, and I imagine there's some also that I've seen go by in chat about, with X input, can I, capture this, or where can I just see a big page of everything that's supported? And so we've put together this handy dandy, basically this table, and this table shows you every input and every resolution at every frame rate that 4KX supports and that can be captured. Um, and to read this, it's really quite simple. Although looking at it at first, it can be a little overwhelming. But the way it works is like this. The input signal, basically what is going into 4KX, is along the top row here, right? So you have 4K 144, 4K 120, 4K 60, etc., all the way down to 1080p 60. We don't list lower resolutions or 30 FPS because it's kind of assumed that if something supports 60 FPS, it also does 30, right? So let's say, for example, my input is 1440p 144. Now I can just follow this table and go down this column, and it'll show me exactly what the capture format is that I can then actually capture at, either record or stream in an app like OBS. So with 4K 144, I can capture that at 1440p 144. Or sorry, did I say 1440p 240? It's a lot of numbers. So 1440p 240, if I go down that column, that can be captured at 1440p 144, 120. And you also notice a difference in color here. So with this input, I can capture it at 1440p 120 in SDR, or if I go down to 1440p 60, I can capture that in HDR. So that's how we differentiate between it, right? And you can see here with like a 4K 144 input, you can capture that at 4K 144 in SDR, 4K 120 SDR, 4K 60 SDR, and then you hit 4K 30, and 4K 30 can be captured in HDR. And then it keeps going down the list here. So that's kind of how that works. And we have the same thing for 4K Pro. So again, you can kind of choose how you want to approach it, right? Either you know what you play at and you just want to check what it can capture at, or you can kind of go the inverse, right? You can say, okay, I want to capture 4K 60. Which resolutions and which resolutions are supported at that point. So 4K 60, you can go over in the columns. Okay, so I would need a 4K 60 input, a 4K 120 input, or a 4K 144 input, and these are the ones that are supported. And then we have a helpful little bit of information up here. So we really try to put out as much information as possible for you. And again, this can be found either just by Googling it or at the bottom in the tech specs for both the 4K-X and 4K Pro. You can click on this view the full list of supported resolutions and FPS here. All right. So that was a lot of talking. I think that covered everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like a lot of people might be intimidated by the amount of numbers that are kind of gone over here. At the end of the day, all of the numbers that our capture cards boast is the goal is to basically get out of your way. So we found that like with the common types of monitors or TVs that people are buying right now with the Xbox Series X or PS5, etc., that our cards will support you being able to play them just when you crank the settings to whatever the kind of max is generally, And so they're the people that kind of go above and beyond and are like, oh, I got this, 8K 240 here. No, that they don't, but there are still like outliers there. But for like most people, I think that if you find it intimidating, it's also probably gonna work with your setup at the end of the day, because that's why we put so much work into this, so it has a high degree of compatibility with those types of setups so that you can just get up and play. And then these extra settings that we throw in there, or the features like VRR or ALLM, is so you can just have the best gaming experience possible without having to manually get in the nitty gritty essentially. So it is a lot of numbers, but they end up translating in real use when it's in your hands to easier use. That's what those numbers end up meaning, is that you don't have to pull your hair out trying to figure out how can I enjoy my games to their fullest and create content.
That's actually a good point. I forgot to mention ALLM, or auto low latency mode.
It's a quick thing. So I can explain it quickly at least, because it's just simple. So with newer TVs, they have a lot of them have these kind of gaming modes built in, so you can get better performance out of them. Because I don't know if you've ever played on an older LCD TV, but the input lag when you're hitting the jump button before you see it can be quite rough. So a lot of TVs, or I'd say even most, maybe you could say,
most
have these types of modes in there. And basically there's a protocol that allows an Xbox or PS5 to send a signal to the TV to say hey, I'm connected here, automatically switch to this mode. And our capture cards are the first capture cards that actually have this pass-through enabled. So basically, we if you were to plug it into a different capture card, they would sort of create a disconnect between the communication from the console to the display. So you'd still have to do the manual, turned on. It's not like you can't turn on the mode. It just doesn't do it for you. But with these new capture cards, it does the work for you. And that's just another example of okay, we can throw out a bunch of letters and it sounds really intimidating and scary, but at the end of the day, you don't even see it happening. It's just let's make your life a little easier, just in case you didn't know,
Getting out of your way.
Yeah. And then we do have a lot of questions too. So let's go ahead and answer some questions for 4KX. So Balhi is asking, can 4KX do multi-app?
It can't on Windows, it can on Mac. So the underlying technology that 4KX uses when it's connected is called UVC. It's the same thing that webcams use, that basically let you plug them into anything. And that doesn't support multi-app, at least on Windows. On Mac, it's different because of the way that Mac handles video inputs. Mac OS kind of gives you multi-app for free, it just any camera input or any capture card does that on a Mac. But not on Windows. We do have a technology in our 4K Capture Utility app called Streamlink,
yeah,
where you can open 4K Capture Utility and then add the output of 4K Capture Utility into OBS. So then you can capture and stream at the same time. It's quite resource intensive, but you can do that. So we still try to look for solutions there to enable that kind of functionality.
Yeah. So the answer is technically a half yes. It's you can, but one of the apps has to be 4K Capture Utility. Or wait, it's just to OBS, right? Or can it also do to an XSplit or something?
It could be something else. It uses NDI, exactly.
Yeah, so like anything that kind of accepts NDI, I would assume it
Yep.
probably should work. But
Alright, real
we
quick.
love OBS personally, so it's the one I always go to for an example.
OBS is so nice. So, real quick, I think this is gonna be a great moment, but I'm seeing a couple questions asking about me showing my setup over here. So, you guys want to see the setup? I've seen a lot of people mention like they love the lighting setup behind me and everything like that. So, honestly,
kind of looks a little amateurish.
Is this a David Beckham moment, or where he's like, no, show us the real setup. Come on, what's the real setup?
it's just it's a green screen. This setup is actually Steggy's old setup.
Yeah. Which I keep saying, like, now that we have Marketplace, I should like charge like 99 cents for it. Try to get some buku bucks, you know?
Yeah, I'm using our green screen XL over here, and so this is not my setup.
Yeah, so it took me a second to even remember why I even did that, but basically I think it was for a buyer's guide. I did a lighting buyer's guide, and the easiest way for me to showcase like the different, like, okay, this is what happens if you have one light versus two, etc., was just to set them all up at once. And I think I even tried doing like one take to go through all that just to save my sanity. But then I'm just like, oh well, this is a bit of a flex.
No, honestly, I feel like a lot of people are interested in having this background from you. It's like I just saw someone in chat mention if they could yoink this background.
We could put it on.
So what's funny,
yeah,
is that the video or is it the image?
It's a video.
Yeah. So like when I left San Jose, I took a couple of camera angle shots of like looping video with like that kind of stuff, just in case I missed it and wanted to do a green screen to get it back there.
Yeah, yes, green screen XL is still available as an Elgato product. Yeah. You can purchase that on our website, 100%. I recommend, as you guys can see. But all right, back to the topic, back to 4KX questions. Question from Bongo La Boss: how does the HDR capture on the 4KX improve on HD60X?
It doesn't. HDR is HDR, so there's no like better capture there. It's just it captures HDR. If you want to then input that into, something like OBS Studio, you can. OBS also supports HDR input and tone mapping, or it can tone map the HDR for you, or you can capture it using 4K Caps utility on Windows. But there's no upgrade. It just captures HDR. Yeah.
Awesome. Next question is going to be from Nico Flyer. Hey, Nick Flyer here with the 4KX. So do we still need chat link, or have you guys changed that?
Yes, the old chat link topic. Chat link is still needed depending on the setup that you use, right? So I think I talked about it a little bit earlier with PlayStation 5 and specifically Switch. Or Jeff, do you want to?
Yeah. I mean, it's my first product. It's like it still baffles me that nearly 10 years later, it's still necessary. Yeah, it's not our decision to do it. I mean, the whole reason why we made chat link was like when I first started Elgato, I like audio, so I would always take the audio questions that would come in because I started as support. And we used to have this little guide that showed like all these different cables and adapters one could do to split the signal coming from a controller into a capture card, because PS4s couldn't, like basically PS4's software and now PS5s would disable HDMI audio if you plug a headset into the controller or use like a USB headset, etc. And so the workaround was using a couple of analog cables to split the signal. But because there was like a few you had to buy, people had a lot of issues setting all that up. So we made a chat link cable where we just combined like the 4 different Amazon cables you would need to buy, and we turned it into one. And then a decade later, countless of those, I cannot believe how many have been sold because people just need it. And Sony still hasn't. Yeah, and Sony just still hasn't like flipped the switch, because like back when we first released Chat Link, Xbox had the same issue. And then what was it, like 2018, 2017?
At some point they
got with the program, but Sony, they're like, we're gonna die on this hill. Like
No,
so
we'll get it in the PS6.
not our decision. So you still need ChatLink if you want to use a headset while recording because of a software limitation from Sony. So I wish there was like an equivalent of write your congressman, but write your Sony rep, like, and request that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so the basic reason is, and actually I can pull up a let's see if I pull up the site here. You guys should be able to see this. Maybe I can zoom in even a little bit more. Look at that. There we go. Right, so the entire point is, and this shows a PS4 controller, but the same still applies for PS5. When you plug a headset into the controller, audio stops going out over HDMI, so the capture card stops getting audio. At that point, what you need to do is, as Steggy was explaining, you need to split that output, and ChatLink does that for you, right? So ChatLink takes the controller output, splits it on one end to the capture card, and on the other end, it actually has an input jack, and that's where you connect your headset. And what's cool is it'll also still take your headset audio and route that into the controller so you can talk with your friends. The one thing to be aware of, though, is that ChatLink itself, like, it doesn't capture your microphone audio from your headset. So if you're doing a stream and you need a mic in your stream, you still need a separate microphone, right? Something else as your microphone input, because the mic audio from your headset still only goes into the controller.
Yeah, Xbox could technically do it if you turned on mic monitoring because it would send a side tone back, but it's kind of poor quality. It's just kind of butt. I
Yeah.
didn't want to swear on stream, but it's kind of butt. I wouldn't recommend it. You should get a Wave 3.
Look at us.
Plug.
All right. Next question is coming from Spanky from YouTube. Will 4KX work on M2 chips?
It does, yes. So 4KX works with your M1, M2, M3 Mac, and when you connect it, you can use it in software, again, like OBS Studio. There's a great little app called Meld Studio that's been up and coming, which I really like. It's a native Mac first, which is cool, so I recommend checking that out. And then for doing things like firmware updates and changing from HDMI to analog audio, you can use our capture device utility, which we also have on Mac. So that doesn't do any capturing, but it lets you change the settings of your 4KX if you need to.
Thank you, Phil. And then we have another question from someone on YouTube by Gordon. Can you use 4KX to capture directly into Final Cut?
Hello, Gordon. I think so. I haven't checked recently on
Yeah,
that. I
I
know they
mean,
have webcam capture functionality.
yeah, if it's
I would imagine
UVC,
it
then
works.
I
Yeah.
don't see any reason why it wouldn't.
Yep. Agreed.
But
So
yeah,
it probably
man, I've
works.
never attempted that in Final Cut, and I edit in Final Cut. I just never did it or captured anything directly in there. Maybe I should try.
Next
it live.
question is coming from Phantom. Will we be able to record 4K HDR using 4KX on Mac later down the road?
So that's actually a really great question, right? So currently, today, HDR capture with I believe it's not just ours, but like all capture cards isn't possible due to the format. Basically, the output format that 4KX and other capture devices use is called P010. It's a type of codec. And Mac OS doesn't actually support that codec. So it's mostly actually on Mac or on Apple to support this. The moment they do, or we figure out a workaround on how to get it like natively into OBS and make that, and have OBS understand the format, then that might work. But yeah, at the moment, my understanding is this is kind of an Apple thing.
Thank you, Phil. Next question is coming from Dylan. 4KX sounds like a gaming beast. How does it enhance streaming quality? Any specific features for content creators? What kind of bitrate upload is needed for OBS or Twitch?
Yeah, that's another interesting one. So 4KX itself doesn't impact your stream quality, not like, the same way if you change your resolution in OBS, right? If you go from 720p to 1080p or from 30 FPS to 60 FPS, or if you change your bitrate from, 2 to 8 or something like that, it doesn't have that same impact, right? 4KX is all about, and our capture devices, so 4K Pro and 4KX, they're all about bringing your video from your console into your computer. What you do from there is kind of up to you. So the quality as well, the quality that you want, and then the quality that you actually stream out or that you record at is kind of up to you at that point. So for like bitrate, I think, sorry if I remember the question, was like bitrate recommendations or something like that. that's something that I don't think we should get into here because it's a huge topic, and we'll need another 5 hours on the stream for that. Maybe another time, I'll come on the show as a guest or something, Jasmine, and then we
Or
can
we
talk
can
about
do
that kind
a
of stuff.
Discord stage Q&A. So that could be
Exactly.
another
Yeah.
thing where we can answer everyone's questions there as well. So we can have that planned.
Yeah. Basically, don't blame Elgato, blame the platform. I'm not saying blame the platform. I'm simply saying that, right, like a capture card brings in video and audio from your console into your PC. Then in your PC or, Mac, you then add that to a software to either record or stream it, and that software will also have its own settings. So our devices will always deliver extremely high quality, in some cases even lossless or uncompressed video, and then it's kind of up to you what you want to do with that. Recording at lossless or uncompressed is generally not something we recommend, right? So you encode the video. That way it's actually something that you can work with, and the file sizes aren't too big. So yeah, it's conceptually it's a little bit of an interesting topic. Like the capture card itself doesn't impact the stream quality, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Phil. Next question is from someone on YouTube again, XD Boy. What's the HDMI bandwidth on 4KX? Full
It's going to
48.
be.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a great question, actually. It's going to be 40 gigabit per second. So it's not the full 48 that HDMI 2.1 supports. Primary reason is that the consoles don't support it, right? So PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, they go up to 40 gigabit per second. In fact, PlayStation 5 will only ever use at most 32. Because of the way that it handles video output, it uses 32. So there's really no reason for our devices at the moment to, go even further, which could potentially lead to, us needing more development time and all of that. In the future, if something